Welcome back to What Would I Do Without You? In the last chapter, Isaac found himself trying to be there for Chris after the devastating loss of his mother. But one forgotten phone call left Aaron wondering where Isaac had been, setting the stage for new questions, lingering emotions, and difficult choices. Tonight, we continue their journey with Chapter 10. If you've been enjoying the story, don't forget to subscribe, leave a like, and share it with someone who loves heartfelt coming-of-age stories. Now dim the lights, get comfortable, and let's continue. What would I do without you? Isaac, is that you? I heard my mom's voice as I cracked open the door. Yes, Mom, it's me, I told her as I hung my keys on the wall. Mom was always cleaning. I caught her in the kitchen sweeping. How are Chris and his father doing? She asked as she stopped sweeping and held the broom in one hand. Not so good. I mean, Chris cries every now and again, and his father keeps thanking me for being there for him. He also told me that he won't be coming back to school and is transferring to some academy. Apparently, his parents had already planned it before his mom passed. I paused a little as I thought about Chris. They never liked Chris's friends. Actually, one of them is going to reform school because he was caught stealing several times, I told my mother as I rubbed the back of my neck. What a shame, she said, shaking her head. Chris will not be graduating with his class. Maybe it is for the best, she said as she was about to start sweeping, but then added, Did you give Chris and his father our condolences? I did, and I hope you don't mind, but I told Chris that I would be back to keep him company. He asked if I could stay with him again, I promptly informed her. I don't know, mijo. She stopped sweeping once again and looked at me with one hand on her waist. Maybe Chris and his father need some time alone, she suggested, again with a concerned look on her face. I would really like to go. Chris is still very sad, and I don't want to leave him alone, I explained. She took a deep, exasperated breath and said, Ay, mijito, I guess so. I will explain to your father when he gets home. She directed her attention to the floor once again. Thanks, Mom. I'm going to pack some clothes and call Aaron. As I ran down the short hall to my room, I remembered Abuelo. Since I was going to spend more time with Chris, I really wanted to check in with my abuelo and have a chat. I peeked into his room, and there he was, sitting on his recliner reading the newspaper while the ball game was on in the background. When I walked in and said hello, he received me with the usual kiss on my forehead and a smile. Where were you, mijo? You didn't sleep here last night. He asked me about Aaron, and I told him everything. About how it took a while for Aaron and I to speak again, but we had finally fixed things. However, I really wanted to talk to him about Chris. I had never had to deal with death, and I wasn't sure what I should do or say. I wanted him to know exactly what our friendship was like. As always, my abuelo listened until I was done talking. In the end, all he said was, I'm very proud of you, mijo. You try to do good when people do you wrong. He paused. Death is a very sensitive subject. There are never enough words or actions to console someone. The best thing that you can do is just be there for him. Your friendship and presence can mean a lot to someone at a time like this. He needs a friend and perhaps a shoulder to cry on. And that is what you are doing for him. There are no perfect words, but your actions will say it all. Time seemed to fly whenever I talked to my abuelo. After we spoke about Chris, we went on to talk about different stuff. He recounted what life was like when he was a kid and told me about every recession he lived through. There were times that he and his family didn't have much to eat. He described when and where he met my grandmother and how much he loved her. I got to know who she was through him. His stories filled up the empty spaces in my mind. My grandfather is everything to me, and I was truly blessed to have him in my life. The connection that we shared was so strong that I could only imagine what kind of relationship I would have had with my grandmother had I been given the opportunity to meet her. I love to hear his stories, and somehow they would help me with what I was going through in life. He often said, there is always a light at the end of the tunnel, and this too will pass. Faith and prayer are all we need. I was deeply imagining my grandfather's life as he spoke, that I was startled to see how much time had passed. I better get going because I promised my friend Chris that I would go back to his house, I told Abuelo as I stood up to leave. He gave me a kiss on the forehead and a blessing. As I exited Abuelo's room, I turned to look at him one more time and thought, what would I do without you? Back in my room, I grabbed the phone and dialed Aaron's number while I packed an overnight bag. I should explain what happened, I told myself. I usually call him Friday nights to see what he was doing, but I had completely forgotten to do so the night before. Plus, he had seen me driving off with Chris. At that point, I could only hope that I hadn't upset him too much. No luck. I exhaled before hanging up. There was no answer, and I didn't want to leave him a message knowing his father didn't care for me. I'll have to call him later tonight, I said to myself in a low voice as I finished gathering my stuff. All of a sudden, I felt like I had to sit down. Everything seemed to be happening too fast, and I had to stop and think. Thoughts of what had occurred in the last 24 hours flooded my mind. The talk with Aaron, Chris's mom passing away, and then the kiss last night. I was shook. And that's the end of chapter 10. Sometimes the hardest moments in life don't come from one event alone. They come when grief, love, guilt, and uncertainty all collide at once. Isaac is carrying all of it, and he's beginning to realize that no matter which direction he turns, someone he cares about is hurting. Thank you for listening. If you're enjoying What Would I Do Without You, please consider liking the video, subscribe to the channel, and sharing the story with someone who might enjoy it as well. I'll see you in the next chapter. Until then, good night.